This is Madhuri Baloch from Pakistan, and you're watching my YouTube channel Insani Ittihad, which aims to invoke a little bit of humanity in all of us through awareness and understanding. So tonight is the last night of Pesach. Tomorrow is Friday, and it's the 7th day of Pesach. It is of course followed by Shabbat, and in the Jewish tradition, the people who are living in Israel celebrate or observe Passover for 7 days, and people living outside Israel observe Pesach for 8 days. That means not eating the leavened or breads or chomets, so to speak. So I have 2 more days. But I just wanted to share this experience of my Passover, which I have mentioned earlier, that it was a bit of a complicated yet very, very spiritually enlightening experience for me. But I actually came across very deep, spiritual understanding in regards to, the freedom and liberation from Mizraim, Egypt of the Israelite people. And I thought that I should share what I actually somehow spiritually felt and understood through these spiritual times. So I realized that, and since tomorrow dawn is the time where when the sea splits and the Israelite cross over to Canaan from Egypt. For me it was very, very the major learning from Pesach was that sometimes we just enslave people in our life, and we do it out of love and also out of hate. We just don't feel like letting them go, because either we hate them so much, so we just want to keep them with us to make sure that they suffer, or they pay for what they whatever grudges that we want to settle with them. And sometimes we also enslave people with our love and care, that we don't let them go, despite the fact that we can see and sense their discomfort, their agitation, or they're not being or fulfilling their potential, and yet we hold on to them. We enslave them like the Pharaoh enslaved the Israelites. And when Moshe says that when Moshe Rabbeinu says that Hashem has sent him to get his people and take them out of Mizraim, the Pharaoh actually said, where would you go? To desert? There's nothing there. In Mizraim there is civilization, everything is there. There is fish, and the Israelites are working, they're productive, and they're flourishing. There is plenty of food. They're happy, they're prosperous. That's why they're growing in numbers. So why do you want to take them into a desert? And if you do want to take them, just take them out for a week. Some of the people, only the old and young boys or men, leave the women and cattle and children behind in Mizraim and have your adventure for a week or 10 days, and then come back to Mizraim. What are you going to do in desert? So I think sometimes we do hold on to people we extremely care for or love or deeply connected to, just out of concern. But we don't realize that it's Hashem who controls our lives, who writes our destinies, and our each and every day of our life is in the hands of Hashem, who comes in our lives, or who goes from our lives, or what happens in our life, what opportunities or what struggles that we have to go through are all designed and written by Hashem himself. And we don't put our trust in Hashem at times just out of love and concern. So, I realized in this Passover time, though it was very difficult understanding, and I had to do a lot of internal struggle, that to speak, and it reminded me of Yaakov, and how Yaakov became Israel is simply the inner wrestling and inner struggle and inner fighting that you need to understand and wrap your brain around what's happening and why it's happening and why it is affecting you either positively or negatively, and what's the issue. For me, this week was exactly that, and it was a very difficult struggle, and I must say it was just like Israel dislocated his his hip. It for me it was very, very tough too, to struggle with myself, struggle with Hashem, struggle to understand life and everything around it. So at times we are scared, and at times we just want to avoid this inner struggle, this inner wrestling with Hashem, and just want this secure, confirmed, concrete, ideal type future or ideal type situation for our lives. But Hashem, the God of Israel, is not an idol. It's not a concrete idol. It's not a human like Jesus or Muhammad, or that Muslims and Christians worship these deities. It's not like a Zeus or those pagan gods who have forms and idols made. Hashem is more like it's part of you. It's part of the nature. It's part of your life, the everyday life that you live. The people who inspire you, the people who hurt you, the people who teach you something amazing, the people who teach you something really not so amazing but yet very emotional and at times hurtful also. So Hashem, the God of Israel, is part of life. That's why the Jewish people say Am Israel Chai, that Israel lives. It's not just Israel lives as in the Israeli people live, or Yaakov as in Israel lives, but it also shows that the God of Israel is a living God. Is not a deity. It's not a idol. It's a living, breathing God, and in that sense, every experience that we go through is part of Hashem. And being in Mizraim, it was a huge struggle for the Israelites. They had been there for 400 years with all the labor, and I was reading the Haggadah, and it was said that before leaving Mizraim, all the Jewish Israelite men were circumcised. And it shows that not every Jewish man was allowed to be circumcised by these Egyptians. And this must have been really, really difficult for both men and women, because that was the mitzvah, and that was the tradition which kept them apart from the others, because that was the covenant of Abraham, and not being able to circumcise their male children must have been really, really hard. But they still chose life. They still chose to live. Women beautified themselves and sort of got intimate with their husbands and had made sure that there is this continuity of life with new babies coming, the procreation and everything. So this something shows this this amazing relationship that Israelites had with Hashem, despite being in the oddest and the most struggling circumstances of Mizraim. And then I also understood that the hardness of heart that Pharaoh had in regards to letting the Israelites go from Mizraim. It was his insecurity that who's going to finish his real estate projects. It was also an insecurity that who's going to be his subjects, because of course Israelites were the largest in numbers in population in Mizraim. So this king was actually fearing that we won't have enough people who are his subjects and who would do all the hard labor. And that's why it was difficult for Pharaoh to let go. But I feel that at times we also, we as in the same sort of hardness of heart I saw in the Palestinian Waqf at the Al-Aqsa and Dome of the Rock, this whole writers thing, this violence thing, this was the exact same hardness of the heart of, just like the Pharaoh's heart was so hardened that they are not Hashem's people. When Moshe said, Hashem sent me to get his people, so let Hashem's people go, let Israelites go. And they said no, and Pharaoh said no, we will not let them go. And despite the convincing of Moshe, despite the 10 plagues, the heart was just so hardened up till the firstborn were killed by Hashem. And I saw the same sort of Pharaohness and being and acting like a Pharaoh. These Palestinians and these Waqf authorities were saying, this is our third holiest place. We will not let the Jewish religious visitors to visit this compound even from far away. It's ours. They were just, this hardness of heart. This is our place. This is Al-Aqsa, is Al-Quds, whatever, that is ours, and we will not share it with others. We will not let the Israelites or the Israeli Jews to visit Temple Mount. This is ours. I think that's the hardness of heart which is still present in the world against the Jews. And look at these Jews. In 1967, when Moshe Dayan captures the East Jerusalem and captures all these holy sites and Temple Mount, he hands over the keys to the Jordanians, to the Muslims. And to be very honest, I was actually angry. Why would Israel win a war and win this territory of East Jerusalem, the entire city of Jerusalem, and then give it back to the Arabs? Why did Israel allow these Arabs to stay in Jerusalem? And I think this Pesach I got the answer, because Israeli and Jewish hearts are not as hardened as the hearts of Pharaoh, the Egyptian, or the Arabs, Muslims, or the Arab Christians. Their hearts are hardened. That's why they say our churches only, our mosques only, no synagogue. There cannot be a synagogue. It is that Pharaohness. They are the modern day pharaohs who don't allow the Jewish people to get close to Hashem. And when they see that these Jewish visitors, these religious people, come too close to Temple Mount, to Dome of the Rock, they feel like they're getting close to Hashem. And this is what Pharaoh said to Moshe, that we have gods. Why can't the Hebrews take our gods? Why do they need another God? And who is that God who wants his people back? So I think I saw the glimpse of Pharaoh in Palestinians, in Palestinian Muslims, who have no room for any other. They are just so wrapped up in their own ego, and they just want everything from themselves and not anyone else. And I realize a Jewish heart is not like that. A Jewish heart and a Jewish soul is a blessing to the entire world. And that's why they share their one and only place. And at times when I was watching those Reuters throwing rocks and desecrating that holiest place where, Jews are not even allowed to go wearing any, shoes or footwear. These people were just desecrating it. It was as if, you know, as if they have abducted Hashem. And it was as if like, like Abraham was scared that, Sarah would be abducted by the Egyptians and then she would be molested. And this, I felt like this attitude, this rock throwing, this Reuterness, this violence at the compound showed me this, that in a way, in a metaphoric way, these Palestinians are desecrating, disrespecting, and literally I would say that as a woman, that they're raping the divine energy. They're molesting it. Hashem chose the Israelites, and Israelite chose Hashem. There cannot be any other person. And I think we need to understand that we need to let go people and have that understanding in our journal lives also. I mean, because Torah is a blueprint of life, which is very rightly said by, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs and many other rabbis, Rabbi Menace Friedman, Rabbi Jacobson. It is indeed a blueprint of life, because, at times in our own personal, intimate relationships, we hang on to people despite the fact that they're so much in pain and hurt. I can tell of my personal experience. This guy that I wanted to get married, I wanted to get married. Not only I was in a very difficult and painful situation, but I do realize the other person was also in a lot of pain and a lot of discomfort. So I had to, soften my heart and let it go. And I was thinking that, I'm old and I will be alone and I will be single all my life. I will not be able to get another, all these egoistic insecurities did come into my heart. That, this is my last chance to get married to a Muslim Pakistani, otherwise, I'm done. And me and my siblings, we used to discuss this. And it was just so amazing that my younger siblings advised me that, it's for life. And then I realized, how can I torture someone and can be tortured by someone for the rest of my life? And that's why I said, no. Man, go find yourself your own soulmate who can enrich you and, bring the best in you. And, have that spiritual, holy matrimony, just like the Israelite had that in Mount Sinai. I mean, the Ten Commandments being the symbolic of ketubah, the mountains being the chuppah, and, Hashem and Israelites being the bride and groom. He also deserved that, and of course I deserve it too. I don't know it will happen or not. Maybe miracles do happen. We have a splitting of sea, and even splitting of sea is very, very symbolic. It's a one sea, and it splits into two to make the way for the Israelites to pass on. And I think this shows our lives, how we pass our lives, being one with Hashem and then being, separated in two parts. But then again, the whole water is one. So I think that also symbolizes the relationship of Israelites with Hashem. I also realized that, my rabbi was just so sweet and so nice and so respectable and just too good and too polite to, say to me say to me directly that, MJ, I cannot teach you Torah anymore. I have, a lot of work assignments. I have a personal thing going on. I just don't have time. And he was just too polite to say to me that I will not teach you Torah anymore, and I will not be able to help you, like that, because, my life has changed and everything, And I was like, and I am Baruch Hashem, that it was Hashem who sort of put in my heart that, Matabine, you just ask him this, and it was easier for that. I'm pretty sure my rabbi is a bit less agitated and less worried about that here is this crazy Pakistani girl who wants to convert to Judaism and I have to teach her Torah. Although, I could have thought that my source of getting Torah knowledge and this beautiful enlightening insights is this man, and I should just bug him and poke him and say, no, you have to give me Torah lessons. Or I could just let him go to fulfill his potential, his true potential, whether it is professionally writing a book or even fulfilling his full potential with this other significant other that Hashem has put that person in his life. Just like Hashem brought him all of a sudden into my life, Hashem also put this other person in his life. So I think we need to understand that we need to have that respect and that sensitivity and sensibility to give even the people that we care about, who are very close to us and we want their closeness and we want to be with them so bad. We give them this privacy that they explore the other person who has come into their lives privately and intimately and closely. Who knows, that other person is their soulmate? Or maybe that person has come in their life to enrich them to another level or the better version of themselves, and they become wonderful. After, meeting them or, spending time with them. And yes, if Hashem wants two people to be together, there's nothing stopping it. Hashem will make sure that no matter what happens, no matter how many detours they have, just like the Israelites, they eventually end up in Eretz Israel as husband or whatever. So it's, as husband and a wife and whatever. So I think we need to understand, and we need to understand and be mature enough to let people go on time and not linger it on, not wait for those 10 plagues and that very difficult plague of losing the most dearest, your firstborn, and then realizing that, what if I just let these people go beforehand? So I think it's very, very important that we need to understand that at times we need to let go the people we care and we want so very badly. And even though letting them go makes us feel very insecure, very sad, very alone, it's what Hashem wants from us, to, let them go and have a separate one-on-one relationship with Hashem, and be one with Hashem before we can have our other significant other, and have a life like that. So that was my understanding, and it was very, very spiritual. And also I realized that those four groups who were scared when the Pharaoh and his army was coming to kill the Israelites, and those people who wanted to go back and the people who wanted to train were actually not the symbolic of Israel. Israel symbolizes the praying type and the fighting type, although it shouldn't be fighting the other humans, or it's more about fighting your own self, and at times, of course, fighting others also, because the Israelites got into Eretz Israel under the leadership of Joshua, and the first thing they do is fight a war. So so it's fighting for life, fighting for having this relationship with Hashem is fighting and fighting for and living for, and of course praying to make sure that we have clarity, and we have patience, and we have persistence, and we have the sensibility and sensitivity to have this connection with Hashem. And then through that connection we are connecting to other people who are important to us, and are close to us, to build a very spiritually intimate relationship with people around us. So I hope the Passover for everyone was meaningful. Of course, there were some sad incidents, and again, people getting hurt, people getting killed, people not in their right energies are not something good, or to it's not a good thing. Although this Passover was such a holy time for all the so-called Abrahamic religions, where Easter, Good Friday, Ramadan, everything was there, but it was such a soaring and bad taste to see how the Palestinian youth, I don't know if they watch porn too much in Ramadan, that is why they react like this, or is the junk food which is making them angry and violent like that, or I don't know what is the cause, but it's just so distasteful and disgusting. And I hope situations in the future get better, and Hashem reveal himself to us all, though Hashem lives in every single Jew, in their heart and in their soul, as one. Thank you very much. Hope your Shabbat is blessful and enlightening and amazing, and hope you learned a lot from Pesach, and it was an emotional time for you, just like it was for me. So thank you very much.